Hello, Steve Kaufman here, and today I want to talk a little bit about Rosetta Stone. Now, of course, you know that being involved with Link, I'm not going to be totally objective in evaluating Rosetta Stone. I'll admit that right up front. Or at least I think it's fair to assume that I'm not being objective. So let me say that I have never tried Rosetta Stone. My son Mark, who's of course working with us here at Link, who's basically the person who has designed the system. I mean, those are his ideas, his concepts, how we organize the site, the components of it, how he's working to improve it. That's all his work. But before he ever got involved with Link, he was a professional hockey player in Japan. His team gave him Rosetta Stone to learn Japanese. So Mark did have a fair amount of experience with Rosetta Stone. He didn't like it. He found it boring and not very effective. I did some research on the internet, and I went and found a bunch of reviews of Rosetta Stone. Not surprisingly, many of them are by people who are in some way connected with Rosetta Stone. So the first thing to say about Rosetta Stone is that they are a tremendously effective and successful marketing organization. And I give them full marks for this. They have increased the awareness amongst people that they can learn languages, that learning a language doesn't require you to go to a school. They've increased the interest in language learning in all languages because they have Rosetta Stone for lots of different languages. So they've done a tremendous job. I think they're it's great for language learning. So I just think it's great. But I posted on my blog, The Linguist on Language, what I consider to be the sort of essence, at least my understanding of Rosetta Stone, which is that they have these multiple choice questions. And I could read it here. It's what one person said about Rosetta Stone, that the most important component of the Rosetta Stone software method is the 4 squares screen. The user is presented with a page that shows 4 pictures of various objects or entities. A pre-recorded phrase or word is played back. The user must click on the square that contains a visual answer, blah, blah, blah. Why does this work? Because it's very instant feedback, instant gratification. People are encouraged and they keep studying. And of course, the biggest thing in anything is you have to stay with it. So Rosetta Stone tends to make people want to continue studying. If that's the case, that's great, because obviously people, if they enjoy what they're doing, they're going to continue doing it. And as I have said many times, people are often discouraged in traditional language classes. The reviewer goes on to say that in normal language situations, we don't get positive feedback. There is a great deal of uncertainty. We perceive that we're doing poorly. We perceive that we're not having success, and therefore people quit. So, that's perhaps not a fair description of everything that happens in Rosetta Stone, but based on that description, and based on what I've heard from my son Mark, I have 7 reasons why I am not very interested in doing Rosetta Stone. I don't put there the 8th reason, which is because of my involvement with Link. But the first thing is I don't like sitting there and answering multiple choice questions. To me, that is not a natural, I'm not communicating. And as I said in my book that I wrote some 6 years ago, language learning should be about communicating right from the beginning. If I'm listening to a real story, I'm communicating. I'm communicating with the language, with the culture, with some situation. So just identifying pictures on a screen, to me, is not something that I would like to do. I don't think I would do it very long. The second thing is that my main language learning activity takes place during what I call dead time. I mostly listen. 70% of my activity is listening. Listening while jogging, while doing the dishes, while driving, while waiting in line. I always have my little iPod with me. So if my language learning activity had to be committed time, i.e. sitting in front of a computer screen, I don't think I would do very much. I just wouldn't find the time. The third thing is that the idea to me that you can learn these words and phrases here is red, green, blue, yellow. Click on the right one. There's a house, a car, a horse. I don't think that I learn words. I mean, I think I forget them all. I learn them, I forget them. I learn them, I forget them. I don't think I can nail them down. This week I'm going to learn house, car, horse, train. Then I'm going to click through tree, flower, green, and yellow. I don't think I will retain them. I know that I'm learning words because the stuff that I'm listening to, I'm understanding more and more of it. But at the same time, I know I'm forgetting words because very simple words, after a year, I'll have forgotten the most simple word. So I know I learn and forget. So I don't believe in learning things that way, nailing down things by, multiple choice questions. Number 4, to the extent that I learn words and phrases, I find that I have to learn them as part of episodes, stories, larger contexts, where I have tried like Living Language and other systems like that, where they give you these phrases. I can't remember them. You can tell me I was with some people the other night, some Brazilians, they told me the name of this Brazilian drink. They must have told me 5 times what it was. Caramba or something. I don't know what it was. I can't remember it. But I can remember words in a larger context where I remember that there was a story, and these are stories that I listened to, and I even remember where I was listening to it. I was listening to it while I was jogging in somewhere, whatever. So I need the episode, I need the context. The next thing, number 5, is in terms of gratification, getting something right on the screen, it might be fun for a while, but to me the big gratification is when I start to be able to tell when words begin and end, so that it's no longer just noise. And soon after that, I actually start to make sense of what I'm listening to. Initially 20%, 30%, then 60%. And remember, when I begin a language, I listen to stuff over and over and over again. So that to me is the gratification. Identifying house, car, knowing that I'm going to forget it anyway, unless I see it in many, many different contexts, meaningful contexts, that wouldn't be very gratifying to me. Number 6, my whole goal in learning languages is to communicate. Communication begins with understanding a real language, and then being able to express myself in real situations. And I know that that's a long road. I have the impression that Rosetta Stone doesn't take me very far along that road. So I'd be reluctant to get started. And the seventh and final thing is that even in terms of getting started, like some people say, and I accept that, some people want to start with Pimsleur, some people want to start with Michel Thomas. I have started languages with Teach Yourself, with Colloquial, and these are all good. And they have their role, and I would prefer all of those as a method of getting started because they're language, they're real language. I'm in a hurry to get into real language, to engage with the language, real situations. So I want to listen to things and read and improve, work on my vocabulary, knowing that I'm going to forget and learn, and gradually the picture becomes clearer. So to me, a little bit of uncertainty at the beginning, it doesn't bother me, and the challenge is to sort of eventually get to where you're noticeably, things are clearer and clearer. The fog is lifting, the uncertainty is becoming less. So the uncertainty doesn't bother me. So those were basically the 7 points. I've posted about this on my blog. I want to hear from people who use Rosetta Stone, and I know that there are people who love it. And there are people who love Link, there are people who love Michel Thomas, there are people who love RSI. So there's all kinds of people out there. I want to hear from people who have used Rosetta Stone, who either like it, or don't like it, or whatever. So these are just my views, and I must admit that you can totally discard my views if you want. A, because I haven't used Rosetta Stone myself, and B, because I'm obviously prejudiced, because I would prefer people to like Link. But I don't really care. I want to hear from people who have used Rosetta Stone, whether they like it or whether they don't. So thank you for listening.